The news that NASCAR gaming fans have asked for years has finally come. Motorsport Games has sold the rights for NASCAR console gaming to iRacing, and we're getting a brand new NASCAR game in 2025. But what's going to be in the game? Why is it going to take so long? And should fans be excited, or is this just another NASCAR 21 Ignition? Let's talk about it today on Shifting Gears. I'm Alan Bailey, and before wild rumors and accusations start flying, make sure that you mash that subscribe button so that you keep up to date with the latest videos, and make sure that you log on to AmericanRacingNetwork.com for the latest motorsports news. ARN, the Motorsports Authority. The big news that we can finally confirm is that iRacing has acquired exclusive simulation-style gaming rights for console gaming's PC and mobile for NASCAR gaming. Yes, it's officially coming, and iRacing and NASCAR both jointly announced that they are going to be having their first game together for Xbox, PlayStation, the Switch, and Steam through PC and mobile devices coming out in 2025. Now, that's basically the shortest amount of time we've ever seen a game turn around, but keep in mind, iRacing, through Monster Games and through their iRacing subscription-based service, already have most of the assets scanned and ready to go. Everything just kind of needs to work its way into console gaming form and, frankly, dummied down a little bit for a PC build for PCs that are not as robust as some of the gaming PCs that we see. That's going to take some time, and frankly, take your time. I will gladly wait another 2 years, 3, 4, 5 years if it means a good game. And there's a lot of pressure on iRacing to get this one right. Now, everything that we've seen from iRacing and from Monster Games tells me that these companies should be able to produce a good NASCAR game. And in all honesty, this is best case scenario for NASCAR fans and the NASCAR gaming industry, because they are going to put the best quality product out there the quickest. By far, EA Sports was a big contender to take this over, and frankly, they don't have the assets, meaning they would have to go out there and rescan these NASCAR tracks, rescan the cars, go out there and develop a game from ground up, which at minimum, realistically, would have taken about 3 to 4 years. Instead, iRacing and Monster Games can kind of take what they have with iRacing through that partnership with NASCAR and more or less make it work for this console game. I do think it's best case scenario, honestly, it truly is. But they made a big, hefty promise. iRacing and NASCAR both claimed that this game will have everything that fans have wanted and more. Their words, not mine. That is some big words. That's a lot of confidence. And frankly, I'm going to help them out a little bit here. So today, we're going to go ahead and list my top 10 must-haves for this new game coming from iRacing and NASCAR. Let me just go ahead and start by saying iRacing does not need to add ARCA, the Truck Series, or the Xfinity Series to this game. It needs to 100% be just the Cup Series. And I know a lot of people are going to be pissed off about that, but frankly, look back at NASCAR gaming history, the great ones, and I mean the true great ones. NASCAR Thunder 04 only had the Cup Series, only focused on the Cup Series. And frankly, they did something that was really cool, bringing in NASCAR Xfinity teams and drivers and paint schemes as more or less field fillers. That's what iRacing needs to do here. Focus on the Cup Series, get that right before you add the Xfinity and the Truck Series into the game. That could be game year 2, game year 3 even, as long as we get a good base of the Cup Series for that first game. Starting with number 10, and this is kind of a joke, but I'm putting it in here because I never thought I would have to put it in a top 10 list. Rear view mirrors. I know, I never thought I would have to say that, Motorsport Games, and with iRacing, I'm pretty sure I don't need to, but notice what I'm saying here. Rear view mirrors. Plural. If you look at NASCAR Cup cars, they have multiple mirrors around the vehicle. They typically have a smaller one on the driver's side window sticking out so that the driver can see who's to their inside. They have a camera mounted behind the car facing backwards so that these drivers can see in real time what's happening behind them. So frankly, those two mirrors need to happen, period. And oh, by the way, iRacing, I would love the feature where I can move that mirror around my cockpit. It would sincerely help us out a lot. Just saying, iRacing. Number 9 on my must-have list for this new NASCAR game coming in 2025, online leagues. This is something that iRacing has done extraordinarily well, and I do think that they will do it for this game in some capacity. It really wouldn't surprise me if we saw a Heat-style league that Motorsport Games / Monster Games put on back in the day for this new game coming in 2025. Number 8 on my list, a paint booth. Honestly, we got to give credit where credit is due. Motorsport Games actually did a really good job with their paint booth, but it was never available in the career mode, and frankly, it was the only thing that worked in NASCAR 21 Ignition. Having that style paint booth, or something like we saw back in NASCAR Thunder 2004 with about 10 different paint schemes with the ability to change the color schemes, would go miles, because not every 8-year-old is going to have mad photoshopping skills and be able to come up with a radically beautiful paint scheme. There needs to be something simplistic for kids who were just getting into it, and that is the point of this console game. Not saying that us adults are not going to enjoy it. I'm just saying that NASCAR and iRacing need to focus this game in 2025 towards the younger demographic. Number 7 on my must-have list, caution replays on the pace laps. Back in the day, or right now on the channel, when I play NASCAR Thunder 2004 and I do something stupid on the racetrack, I get multiple replays from multiple angles showing me being an idiot. I think that that is necessary, because when a caution comes out and the player has no idea of what it's for, they need to see if it was them so they can not make a mistake moving forward, or so that they can see what's happening immediately, not going into a replay system after the race and looking for it and figuring out what it was. I think that this is a feature that adds a little cinematic razzle-dazzle to the game, and it gives that instantaneous replay factor. I think it's definitely needed for the younger demographic. Number 6 on my must-have list, a paint booth network. Let me explain this one. Right now in iRacing, trading paints is king. You can go on Trading Paints, link it to your iRacing account, and you have hundreds of thousands of paint schemes, some created by professional graphic designers that work for the NASCAR teams, some that are freelancers that create just as amazing and beautiful paint schemes. I think that this is something that is desperately needed for this game. Now, it's a bit of a stretch for the first game in this new line from iRacing, but hey, they said that they're going to make all of our dreams come true, so I'm shooting for the stars on this one. Number 5 on my list, fantasy tracks. Remember how amazing fantasy tracks were back in the day? And frankly, they actually do kind of have those in iRacing. Not to say that they completely make up tracks, but iRacing Super Speedway is a fantasy track from back in the day, and you can go race on it right now in iRacing. I would love to see iRacing Super Speedway in this game, and I'm willing to bet it will be. But I'd also like to see other versions of the tracks that NASCAR doesn't necessarily use, but that iRacing already has scanned into their simulation, like the Daytona Road Course, like the Homestead Miami Road Course. Seeing those in the game, even though they're not technically fantasy, would be extraordinarily cool. Even older tracks, like Rockingham, being in the game would be amazing. Number 4 on my list, real-world driving stats. Sincerely, this is something that we saw in NASCAR Thunder 2004, and frankly, yeah, NASCAR 21 had this as well, but they used real-world stats and put them in the game. That was super cool, because it does give a depth of realism to the game, but it also is essentially NASCAR history encapsulated right there, so that as the career modes progress in this game, players can actually keep up with real-world stats and do the comparisons to what their favorite driver does in this game versus what they do in real life. It's one of the coolest things that we saw in the Thunder series back in the day, and I need it back, iRacing. Please and thank you. Number 3 on my list, retiring drivers / silly season. Frankly, one of the coolest things that we saw back in the Thunder series was when drivers would retire. Older drivers would retire, and we'd see the now NASCAR Xfinity drivers work their way up into that series and replace some of them. Sometimes the car would go away entirely. We need more of that. I need more of that, because that gave so much depth and realism to the game, and it made so much sense. And piggybacking off the silly season idea, number 2 on my list, owning multiple cars and hiring real-world drivers. I would love to add a second car to my career mode when this game comes out, and I would love to get to pick and choose which driver ends up in that car. The F1 series from EA does a wonderful job with you being able to sign real-world drivers from F2, from F3, sometimes even from F1 into your F1 car, and I would love to see that driver market available for NASCAR, because frankly, and I'm being serious, who would you hire to drive your Cup car and be your number 2 driver right now, Carson Hocevar? I'm just saying, it's a legit question, and I would like to have a little bit of a budget and throw it at some of these drivers and really honestly bid for them and have a little bit of fun with the behind the scenes of this. This can definitely turn into a NASCAR manager type game if NASCAR and iRacing want to go that route, or we can at least dip a toe in and have a feature like this with us being able to sign any driver we want on the grid. I think it would be wonderful, and I want to see that. Please make that happen, iRacing, I'm just saying. And number 1 on my list, and I'm being serious, this might be the most important thing that iRacing and NASCAR can do to make this game a success and to help ensure the future of NASCAR. And I'm being dead serious when I say this. Pre-race introductions like we saw in NASCAR Thunder 2004. How many people played that game back in the early 2000s, and how many people insanely grew their depth of NASCAR knowledge and their drivers and their stats because of those pre-race intros? I mean, they were simply amazing. We got a rotation of different statistics for all the drivers and everything that was happening, not only with our own career mode and our actions on the racetrack, but a trip down memory lane into recent NASCAR history and even really past NASCAR history, giving us that in-depth knowledge. Honestly, it cracked the door open for my love of NASCAR back in the day, and it definitely grew my knowledge early on in my development. NASCAR really is trying to get the younger audience to the racetrack, and it's something that they've been doing pretty well actually the last few years, considering they don't actually have a video game on the market right now that does this for them. And I think that this could potentially knock the door open for NASCAR going from the number 2 sport in the nation to potentially fighting for the number 1 spot with the NFL again, like we saw in 2004, 2005. And what games came out around that time, people? I'm just saying. These are just some of my ideas. I truly think that iRacing and NASCAR already have a really good leg up on anybody that's ever developed a NASCAR console game in its entire history. And I do think that this has the potential to be the best NASCAR console game of all time. Yes, we are putting that amount of hype and that amount of expectation behind this game. But honestly, iRacing, I think, is going to rise to the occasion. I think they already have in some regards. Seeing what they're doing with the eNASCAR Coca-Cola Racing Series is phenomenal, and I do think that that success will translate eventually to the console side. I like the fact that we're not trying to shoehorn this into 2024. They're going to have at least a year and a half to really work on this game. And I frankly think that they're going to do it. It really wouldn't surprise me if we saw this come out Daytona 500 weekend 2025. There's no real timetable in 2025, whether it's going to be towards the beginning of the season, the middle, or the end of the season. I think it's probably coming out fall 2025 if I had to put a date on it right now, but NASCAR has stated that they really want to move towards game releases coming out at the beginning of the year, meaning around February. So will that happen in 2025? I absolutely hope so, but we're going to have to wait and see. Until then, make sure that you mash that subscribe button so that you come back for the next video, and let me know in the comments, what features do you want to see in this new game from iRacing? In the meantime, make sure that you stay logged on to AmericanRacingNetwork.com for the latest motorsports news. I want to thank you so much for watching. For Shifting Gears, I'm Alan Bailey. We'll see you at the track.